Sean, what'd you
I
do?
can't say much because I played video games all weekend.
Sean, did you?
Target.
No, I didn't do anything exciting, unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was trying to get you involved, Sean, and here you're coming up with nothing. So.
I did this
Thanks a lot, Sean.
Just make it up. Hold on. You got
That's
1
the
second.
thing.
Make it up. What did you do? Something fun to get on TV.
Okay. All right.
We're going to judge your creativity.
Let's do it.
Totally. What did I do? Oh my God.
Streaking? What?
Pressure. What?
You went streaking? What?
Oh.
Are you kidding me?
Not just coronavirus. How could I do that?
I love how streaking is not allowed during coronavirus. That was the one thing holding you back.
It was kind of like to be, stick with people.
Well, as long as you wear a mask, you're fine.
Exactly. Oh, I love Sean. We had to get him involved, but he couldn't think of anything fun for the weekend. But I hope you had a great one and a great first day of the week. Hey, everyone, check. Your Monday's done. We're getting there. All right. Whoop, whoop. Only 4 more to go. I'm John Hanson. This is The Jam alongside the amazing Felicia and the always equally amazing Amy Rutledge.
Yeah, watch what you say.
I mean, could you get a little more creative with the adjectives here?
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's the big question of the evening. Is an asteroid about to hit Chicago? Okay.
Only we were so lucky.
Maybe not going to hit Chicago, but celebrity scientist Neil deGrasse Tyson is saying that one could nick the planet the day after the election. Mm-hmm. John, what do you think of that?
Okay, I've been seeing this article going around. There's nothing more clickbaity than asteroids are coming to destroy the planet. And then you always click on the story and you read that it's actually going to miss the Earth by millions of miles, most likely. Or like this one, it's the size of a refrigerator. Look, nothing would be more 2020 than after the election, a giant asteroid coming and hitting the Earth. But it ain't gonna happen, so stop teasing me with it.
Okay, less than a 1% chance that it would get our atmosphere, and they say even if it does, it would burn up because it's so small.
Yes. So then, but then it cost us a click. We all had a little click on that. Had to watch probably some pre-rolled ad on the website. It's just a waste of time. We're all going to be fine. And guess what? When the asteroid comes, you don't want to know about it. It's over anyways.
But it was a pretty big.
Up.
That's a pretty big scientist, a pretty big name attached to that. I would click on that too.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I did.
I'm saying. All right. Thanks for riling me.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed. Get right with your God and everything, so you don't have to worry about the asteroid. Okay. We all know artists, they're actually having a tough time with everything that's going on, but Brandon Pope, who keeps his ears to the streets, he has information on a partnership that could help them. Fill us in, B.
Yeah, you know that arts block in Washington Park where Currency Exchange Cafe is? Love that spot. It's now home to Retreat. It's an activation from Theaster Gates' Rebuild Foundation to help local artists impacted by the pandemic after the closure of so many art spaces throughout the city and throughout the country. Now, it's a year-long pop-up. It hosts a series of events, programs, and artist residencies, and it showcases artists' work, their music from local musicians. It also has co-working spaces and a commercial kitchen for culinary artists. The artists behind the retreat say the Southside Currency Exchange Cafe is the perfect way to host this artist sanctuary.
Currency Exchange itself has been sort of a fluid space for ideas and entrepreneurial endeavors to take place. And it's really the perfect intimate setting where anything is possible here.
And you can visit Retreat now at Currency Exchange. Mask required and social distancing is strictly enforced there. Amy, over to you.
All right, Brandon, thank you. And if we're talking about masks and social distancing, we need to be doing more of it. Governor Pritzker today warning a new wave could be upon us. Southern Illinois being forced to scale back some of its reopening, the plans with restaurants and such, because the number of COVID cases in the state and around the Midwest are jumping. 4 Chicago area counties could be included in that scale back soon. That's including Kane and DuPage County. So are we doing enough, John and Felicia, to keep our gatherings small?
That's all I have for this, because it's just kind of COVID information overload. And I feel like because we've been getting so much information, we've been bombarded with COVID for the past, I don't even know how many months now, since March. I think people are kind of desensitized to it. I mean, everyone's doing what they can. I think many people are doing what they can to stay safe, but that's all we keep hearing about. I think it's just an overload at this point.
From the beginning, I think there's been a very us versus them mentality with people that are taking it seriously versus people that are not. The reason I wanted to actually kind of open this up to honesty is that they're showing that most of the cases now are coming from small gatherings amongst family. And it got me thinking, honestly, have I been as safe as I could be? I've gone golfing, and when you're golfing with 4 other people, yeah, you're outside, but we aren't wearing the masks. We go to the gym every morning. Yes, we're inside in small groups and wearing masks. But yeah, I've gathered with my family. A couple of weeks ago, I went out to the suburbs. There were 4 of us in a house chatting for a few hours. We didn't wear the mask. I guess what I'm ultimately saying is maybe we shouldn't be so judgmental of other people when they are breaking some of the rules that we deem to be really bad, when we should take a little look inside and say, I think a lot of us are spreading it without even realize that we are.
Yeah, I'm with you, John. I go to the gym, 5-6 days a week right now. And now I don't go anywhere else. But that doesn't really matter, does it? If you go one place, that's enough where there's other people around. And I've got 2 kids in daycare. I got a kid who's going to school. The school, I'm sure, is going to roll back and go back to all remote learning pretty soon because our cases are getting so high. So you're right. I think we all need to reevaluate what we're doing, even the little things, because little things they matter a lot.
Yeah. Well, even this conversation is certainly stressful, just us talking about it. I mean, it's scary at the same time. You're trying to manage the fear of it all, which is why mental health treatment has been harder to find as the pandemic has driven demands for certain services higher. Dr. Aslinia joins us now to give us some insight into how we can support ourselves and those we love. Nationally, suicide is at a 50-year high. What signs are we missing, Dr. Aslinia?
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, so this pandemic has certainly kicked into a higher gear the mental health concerns that have, for the most part, been around. And we've had depression, anxiety, suicide. All of these have always played a role in our society. However, this pandemic has now forced many people to go into isolation, as you guys were just speaking about. And so that has resulted in higher rates of loneliness. And again, isolation and loneliness are 2 different things. And I think that might be one of the things that's getting missed. While we're isolated, we don't necessarily have to feel lonely. We can still be, communicating with our friends and loved ones, or like you guys were just saying, going to the gym, or physically isolating, but rather from an emotional perspective, still engaging with one another. I think that's really one of those things that's being missed these days.
Yeah, that's certainly difficult to do at this time with everything that we have going on, but clearly something that's still important. With that engaging, I mean, how does that play a role with us monitoring our loved ones? How are we better able to do that and pay attention to the signs?
Sure. Great question. Yeah, one of the biggest things that I've been saying since this pandemic started is really trying to focus on the quality of our relationships instead of the quantity of our engagements. Oftentimes with social media now, we almost most often tout to one another how many friends we have, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, but rather we're not really engaging with those friends that we have. We might have hundreds or thousands of friends, but we don't really know what their heart beats for or what's going on with us. So during this pandemic, one of my first tips has been to increase your emotional connectedness with a couple of friends instead of all those random people that you might be liking their pictures or they might be liking yours. To really pick up the phone and call a friend who you feel comfortable with and let them know what's going on with you emotionally, whether it's you can't sleep at night, whether you're anxious about the future, whether you're worried about losing your job, and allow them to do the same thing. If you don't have that individual or those individuals that you can share, this is where we tend to get in trouble from an emotional or mental health perspective. Is everything starts
But Dr. Aslinia, what kind of
eventually hit
signs?
a break point. So like
Yeah, what kind of signs in our friends should we look for? I mean, what is a trigger or something that we can see and recognize and say, okay, we got to do something differently. We have to help them.
Yeah, wonderful question. So all of us have a certain baseline when it comes to our friends and family members. We know how they typically act. We know how they typically engage with us, if they're funny, if they have certain desires, if they have certain interests, if they eat a certain amount of food, or if they sleep a certain amount of time. Those are all nice and high clues for us that if you see a significant change all of a sudden in your friend or loved one's sleeping habits, if they're sleeping too much or sleeping too little, if they're eating too much or too little, if they're just not engaged anymore, if they feel hopeless or helpless, these are the times we need to really probe them for a deeper level of a conversation, because they might be struggling with deeper levels of depression and or anxiety, or who knows, maybe even contemplating suicide. And that's where I think these questions become really poignant, to not only check for those clues, but also ask them pointed questions such as, hey, are you thinking about harming yourself or harming someone else? I think
Okay.
oftentimes there's a myth. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, we're out of time, unfortunately, but I think everything that you're mentioning, and even going as far to asking the direct question of, do you feel like you're going to harm yourself? Do you feel like this is a more serious situation? I think that could go a long way. Dr. Aslinia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, you can get more information on how to better support yourself or your family by heading to deantherapy.com. John.
Yeah, important stuff there, Felicia. Okay, you might have seen this photo over the weekend. It was a really gorgeous shot taken from a drone, and it happened to stumble upon a really great scene. It was a mystery couple, and a citywide effort went out to find them, and they did. By the way, this is drone photographer Antoine Tissier capturing this amazing shot under the grand statue in Lincoln Park. Turns out Emily Harney and her fiance Omar Gonzalez were taking their engagement photos with their own photographer at the time. 2020, finally something positive. It only took till the middle of October.
So cute, so glad we found them, and it's a beautiful story to see unfolding. That's awesome. Thanks, John.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's get it over to Dee.
There we go. Coming up in news you need to know, we're talking about what President Donald Trump says about Fauci, coronavirus, and the guidelines. And let me tell you, it's a very specific choice of words. We'll talk about that coming up after the break. Krista?
Specific choice of words. Okay, Dee, I'm ready for you. All right, guys, and coming up in trending, guys, I got to tell you, I thought my 7-mile run was impressive. Turns out this viral TikTok, it shows that it's far from it. So I'll have that later in trending. And make sure you guys are following us on social. I know the Bears won, and we're 5-1 now. And I think it's thanks to a GIF we put out yesterday. But you'll only know that if you follow us at the Jam TV show. So check us out, and we'll be right back after this.
Good evening, I'm Diana Gutierrez with the news you need to know. Illinois is seeing a spike in coronavirus cases. Public health officials announced more than 3,000 new cases and an additional 22 deaths. The state's positivity rate has increased for the 13th consecutive day. Meanwhile, in Wisconsin, they're back on restrictions, limiting capacity at bars and restaurants to 25%. And we already know all over the news has been like UK, France, Spain. They're taking tighter restrictions, and people are taking this quite seriously for the second wave.
Well, if we don't get this stuff locked down before we get into the really cold days, it's not going to get any better. And folks, we cannot afford mentally, financially, physically to be locked down like we were this summer. So people really got to start being as careful as they possibly can. I mean, all of us included.
So they're right with everything they're saying. I just think now you're trying to really legislate what's happening in people's homes. Good luck with that. I think it's great that they're trying to raise awareness for it. Again, they're right in everything they're saying, but it's now just feels all out of control.
Yeah, what I don't get is why there isn't like this national rallying towards. I think there is in some circles, but like we are best when we're overcoming things like in wars, the country rallied together for certain causes. It was seen as patriotic to wear a mask. It was seen as doing your duty to stop the spread. The same thing happened in 1918, 1917 with the flu outbreak for those couple of years too. So, but while we have this giant swath of the country that isn't doing it, it is such a bummer because it hurts the rest of us who are trying to take it seriously. And honestly, I don't think we're getting out of this until there's a vaccine that is widespread. And when's that? 6, 7, 8 months at best?
Yeah, I mean, at least we've seen that it's doable, right? There are 2 states that have remained the same, that the cases have not increased, and that's Hawaii and Vermont. So if they can do it, Illinois, we got to get it together. And in
all
other
we got to do is be an island in the middle of the ocean. That's all we need, and then we got it.
Does Lake Michigan count? No? Okay. All right. In other COVID-19 related news, we have to break this down. President Donald Trump took a couple verbal jabs at Dr. Anthony Fauci on a campaign call. The president claims that all of us, are tired of hearing about the pandemic and said Fauci is a, quote, disaster who has been around for 500 years. He even referred to Fauci and other health officials as, quote, idiots. Now, at the same time that the president was having this phone call, Dr. Anthony Fauci was receiving an award for medicine. So it just kind of puts things into a weird perspective of, what's going on here.
Well, all of this is happening under the president's so-called Character Counts Week, which he issued that edict on Sunday. So character counts. Dr. Fauci is one of the most popular people in the United States right now. This shouldn't be about politics, but let's be real here. The president's closing message in his campaign, 15 days till the election, while millions of people are voting, is that the person that people most respect about the issue that is almost the most important to everyone is an idiot and is just 500 years old. So he is making his own bed. Let's see how that turns out.
Exactly. I don't see what the political strategy is behind this, or if you can even call it that. I don't know what's going on with that campaign right now, because regardless of how you feel what we should be doing about masks and COVID, to attack Dr. Fauci doesn't seem beneficial in any shape, form, or fashion. On the other side, I would like to applaud him. Dr. Fauci, since day one, and I guess you could say decades before with other presidents, has really worked to remain apolitical during this entire time. I think it's a difficult thing to do when the leader of the free world is attacking you.
Well, and then what just got stupid is when the president bashes him for wearing a Washington Nationals mask and saying what a bad pitcher he was for throwing out the first pitch, and then tweets out the video of himself throwing out a pitch that was much better years and years and years ago. Like, really, people? Are we children? We're talking about a pandemic. I couldn't believe that's where that conversation ended on Twitter. What?
I agree with the president on that one. That mask, he shouldn't wear that, and that pitch was way outside. And the one thing is, the president is right. Joking aside, the president is right that we are all sick of the virus. That part was fine to say. We are, but it's what you do with that information that's important.
Right.
Yes. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
Okay.
Thanks, Yana.
Well, Here's something that you can make sense of, you guys. If you've been out of work for some time, or if you need to keep sharpening your interviewing skills, we can only control what we can control. That's why you need to be watching Job Hunt Chicago and continue to work on yourself. Here's the tip from career coach Chad Eves and what he has to say.
The longer a person is out of work, the more important it becomes to address gaps in work experience. But this is something that can be done. One way is to look for short-term or one-off type jobs. These can sometimes be found on gig websites such as Fiverr.com. Another option is to consider volunteering. This could be for the same work that you did before or something a little different, but what it will give you is something to put on your resume, and also references to share with a future employer. A resume with fewer and shorter gaps in work experience is going to be a more appealing and powerful resume for an employer to consider.
Hey, we got more tips just like this every Sunday at 11 a.m. on Job Hunt Chicago on the U. Krista?
Thanks, Felicia. All right, coming up and trending, the TikTok that's going viral, and honestly, it makes me want to get up and run right now to be a better runner. Just kidding, it's freezing out. I'm not going to go outside and run. And yeah, tomorrow's going to be just as bleak as it was today. Here's a look at that weather. Blurg. We'll be right back after this break. Okay, you guys have to hear about this TikTok that is trending now. Running anything under 6 miles is impressive, but running anything under 6 miles while you're pregnant is even more impressive. So McKenna Myler, she's going super viral on TikTok for completing a mile in 5 minutes and 25 seconds while being 9 months pregnant. Mind explosion. This is wild. Okay, she says she's been running 5 to 6 times a week throughout her pregnancy, so she's strong. But the TikTok of her finishing the laps has over 3 million views, and McKenna is actually due today, October 19th. So no updates on her TikTok or Instagram, but she has said that her doctors say that her baby looks very healthy, even though she's putting in all these miles. Now, Amy, you're a runner. You've had babies. I'm over here like mind blown, but really, should I be? Because you've run a little while you were pregnant, no?
I get so worked up about this because people are always like, oh my gosh, she shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, no, she's fine. I ran a half marathon when I was pregnant with Henry while I was living in China, which in hindsight was not the best idea because the air quality was horrible. But she was clearly a runner beforehand. Doctors are going to tell her to keep up what you do as long as you're doing it safely. And obviously she was. Her doctor let her, and yay, she's happy and healthy and good. I'd rather see somebody who works out really hard than somebody who gets overly large in their pregnancy because they don't work out, because then you're going to have health problems for yourself and your baby too. So go get us, sister.
And caveman, cavewoman days when they were pregnant, they were running away from saber-toothed tigers and all that sort of stuff.
Tigers.
Like she's doing it right. Good for her.
Go, a little girl power for us. It's awesome.
Yes.
5 minutes.
Wait, were they not around when humans were around?
Okay, there's your 7-day forecast. John, I have a legit question. Are saber-tooth tigers really real? Because I was referencing the Flintstones, but I really thought it was just part of the cartoon.
Oh no, they're real. I just don't know if they overlap with humans. Woolly mammoths are in the same vein. I think there was with the Neanderthals some overlap there.
Okay.
I was just Googling that, and I think you're all wrong. I was just Googling that.
Oh,
Okay,
wait,
tell
they're
me
not
what
just
the
the
internet
mammoths?
says.
Let's see your Google search history. Also, I love that you guys brought up the Flintstones. Coming up later, this is a deep tease. We'll be talking about
Very.
We'll be sure to-
Oh, look at Krista go with the lingo.
Oh yeah, I'm in the biz. I'm in the biz.
I call that forecast, by the way, a Brandon forecast. It's like a 4. Hello, 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 everybody. You are watching The Jam, and this will make no sense if you just started watching, but I did just look up that saber-toothed tigers and humans did coexist for about 20 years. So
Thank you. Solving that
even
mystery.
if you weren't watching, that's some useful knowledge to start your Monday evening. So consider yourself fully aware of what's happening.
It is.
Speaking of animals, the Bears won yesterday. They beat the Panthers. They're 5-1, which is great news. Felicia knows all the words to bear down Chicago Bears. Go ahead and give it to us, Felicia.
How
about the first two? Bear down Chicago Bears. Okay.
Is that
mind.
it?
But,
Is
Amy,
that it?
Yeah, there's a lot more we'll have time for. But Amy, you shared that story earlier about the COVID outbreak, or at least the maybe suspected one.
They actually shut down Bank of America Stadium after the game because of a positive COVID-19 test. We're waiting for word to see if it was positive, but the Panthers did put a player today on reserve on the COVID-19 list, Michael Schofield, their guard. So we're waiting to find out if that was positive and if anybody else has tested positive since then. We haven't heard just yet.
Yeah.
Ugh, scary,
that's
especially since
kinda
they just played each
interesting.
other.
Yeah, well, yeah. One thing that's kind of interesting with this is that I feel like we're only really getting reports of who has COVID, unless it's maybe a couple of the huge players. We haven't really gotten word on their recovery or what it looks like, a week later. And I feel like that could be another thing that could help people understand what's going on, because so many people follow and look up to football players. Just a thought.
Fingers crossed that no news is good news. And by the way, what you all just saw live on television was me throwing Amy under the bus. I had forgotten all the details of that story and then threw it over to Amy to tell them all. And she had to go to her computer and look. So that's a pro, Amy Rutledge, right there.
Also because I couldn't remember the player's name. So I was like, wait, what? He's got
the
She
was ready, though. She was ready, though. I love it.
I'm here for it. All right, guys. The pandemic has ravaged opportunity for local artists, but a new pop-up experience wants to be a sanctuary for creatives. Beat Pope has the details. Brandon.
Hey, what's up? So Theaster Gates' Rebuild Foundation, they've launched this thing called Retreat at Currency Exchange Cafe, really great spot on the south side of Chicago. So now when people stop by to grab coffee there, they can also check out and purchase different artwork and music from local artists. They talk about food, paintings, all kinds of things. It's a year-long pop-up. It hosts a series of events, programs, and artist residencies. There's some co-working spaces for creatives, a commercial kitchen for culinary artists, and the artists behind Retreat say this new activation is going to help a struggling industry that's seen art and performance spaces shutter from COVID-19 all over.
It's really meaningful to have that access, and we wanted to be able to continue providing that in some way. And so it just meant thinking a little bit creatively about how we can provide this space for artists to be able to continue their work, but within these parameters that we're all going through.
Really cool activation there. You can check it out at the Currency Exchange Cafe. John, over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Brandon. Yeah, Harry Thomason, the director and producer of the iconic sitcom Designing Women.
Yeah, now he is sharing some unique stories on the podcast, The Story You Never Heard, including a few tidbits here and there on the city of Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us. And what I love about this podcast, too, is it's quick snippets of pieces of history that you tell like a really good story. How did you decide to do it in this format?
Well, my background is I'm a history teacher. And so this podcast, The Story You Never Knew, never heard, just seemed like a natural. And you can find it on any podcast platform that you go to. And the stories, we just kept them short, but we made sure they were about things that most people in this country don't know. I've always been fascinated by them. Even when I taught history, I would tell these stories, and the students always just loved them. And Chicago is rife with good stories to tell, I might say. And so it's just been a thing of pleasure to tell these tales, and people are beginning to write us, and they're beginning to really listen. And the good thing is they're all totally free, and they're about history, movie stars, you name it, and we cover it.
What I was a huge fan of Paul Harvey, legendary broadcaster. Now you know the rest of the story. And yours are in some similar vein, but different also in that some of these people that we've never heard of truly changed the world. And being able to expose, I think, history in a way that shows that everyday people can make such a big impact, you can often draw something inspiring from that.
It is. And you know what? I only wish I were a fraction as good as Paul Harvey, because as a kid, I listened to him and I love the guy too. So
I can hear it. I got it. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I got to ask, because I saw last week there was a table read of Designing Women for the original pilot to raise money for charity. That was awesome. Any chance we're going to see Designing Women rebooted? Take two?
Well, I think there's a good chance you'll get to see Designing Women again, because on April the 14th, at Theater Squared in Fayetteville, Arkansas, we start a run of big regional theaters, and it will end up hopefully on Broadway. I mean, we've got some interest by the end of the summer, and it's called Designing Women to Play, and it's a great story. It's a story
How do you
American
take a sitcom? Yeah, how do you take a sitcom and put it into a play?
Well, you know what? The sitcom was always more of a play than it was a sitcom.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
covered topics that nobody else dared cover. And it would be, the networks would probably be hard pushed to do it today, but we think they would because all the networks have made contact with us over the past couple of years about maybe talking about redoing it, and always something like this strange era we're in right now comes along. But we know the play is set and the contracts are set in stone. So, but we know it's still going to get moved unless this all gets better, and we hope it'll get better.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it's
that was
really
just such
the
an
story.
amazing show. I mean, as a young woman, when the show was on the air, I never missed an episode because it was so awesome to see women running a company and kind of being the boss ladies. And so I feel like, you know, it's something that still needs to be talked about today.
Yeah, I mean, we get communications from young people all the time that said, I used to sit on my grandmother's lap and watch this show, and now I find my daughter sitting on my lap and we watch this show. And so that's good, but it's because the cast was so glamorous, but yet we covered everyday things that everybody has to face, and so it made them feel better. And this play will do the same thing. It's about how they have drifted apart, like America right now, and about how they find their way back together. And we think I think my wife is the genius in this family. She's the writer. She makes the decision. But I think this is such a good story that America needs to hear.
I love it.
Not only that, but can expose a whole other generation to a show maybe that they hadn't seen before and give them a chance to see it for the first time.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And as far as the show next week we put out a new show on the Story You Never Heard, which is completely free, no tricks, no nothing. You can just go listen to 55 of them right now, or you can start listening this Thursday night, where we'll be talking about something that happened in Chicago and about a guy from Chicago. And most people in Chicago know it, but nobody else in the world knows it. And it's about a guy named Mickey. And
okay, I like that tease. There we go. And now you can
is that a guy named Mickey
listen
Finn?
Could be. I don't know. I don't want to get too much out of it away. But we also we did a story about probably the most famous Christmas song in the world, with the help of Montgomery Ward, was created in your city too. So we do a lot of good stuff. So
that's great. Awesome. Harry, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. Yeah, for sure. The podcast is great. You can listen to The Story You Never Heard wherever you get your podcasts.
Nice. Okay, travel with me overseas for a second. Let's take a hop and a skip over the pond, okay? Because this is not something that happens every day. Queen Elizabeth made a rare move and granted royal clemency to a convicted murderer. The Queen's order shaves off 10 months of his 17-year sentence, making him eligible for parole in 2021. We're talking about Stephen Gallant, who was convicted in 2005 of beating a firefighter to death outside a pub. But then he came back around, and in 2019, he helped stop a terrorist attack on a London bridge. A terrorist was stabbing people on the bridge. And so because of all of this and the turn of events, the Queen has offered him a pardon. This is her first pardon in 25 years. Not something that happens every day.
Well, and just picture this in your head, okay? This Gallant had a 5-foot-long narwhal tusk and was chasing this attacker down after he'd already killed 2 people. I was actually surprised it was only 10 months, but glad to see that some recognition was shown for him putting his life on the line to try and save others too.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a weird story. I mean, it's such an insane attack. It's like one of the strangest headlines ever. Yeah, it shows that some people can redeem themselves even after they've been to the darkest pits of the valleys or something. I was going to get really deep there, but we don't have time for it. Deanna, over to you.
I have some news for you all. Feral cats could it be the solution to one of Chicago's biggest problems? I'll give you all the details after the break. First, let's take a look outside with the Royal Sonesta Chicago Riverfront cam. We'll be right back. I'm Diana Gutierrez with the news you need to know this evening. TSA had its busiest day since March on Sunday. We're talking over 1 million passengers that were screened. TSA took the time to talk about enhanced health and safety protocols, new equipment, and obviously all of this is in place to reduce contact with passengers. Now check this out. Last year, we were looking at 2.6 million travelers. I don't know, it's a little risque, over 1 million at this time. People are getting more comfortable with traveling.
Risque.
Yeah, so yeah.
Risque.
Yeah.
Risque, not risque, but risky.
Risky. Let's go with risky. Certainly a little risky right now. I actually just had to travel for some business, but in the TSA line, I did see them on the way coming back. They were wiping down some of the bins and, of course, trying to remind passengers to maintain social distance. But other than that, I didn't really see that much being done differently.
Yeah, well, it's good news in theory if that's coming back. I just hope it's done as safe as possible. It's always a big what if.
Yeah, and in other news, spiking COVID-19 numbers is said to be linked with spiking Illinois teachers retiring. Almost 600 teachers retired since July. We're talking about a 45% increase from last year. State officials say it's actually linked to the dangers of teaching in classrooms. And of course, this could lead to more problems later on because of shortages. That's why they're pushing this effort to hire younger teachers as well.
Yeah, this is really troubling. I mean, obviously we need teachers, and every couple of 5 or 6 years, we kind of go through this dip where we see a lot of retiring teachers. It puts strains, obviously, on school districts trying to hire, but it also puts strains on students if you don't have enough to fill, the classrooms and such with high quality, well-paid teachers. Of course, the well-paid is one part of the big argument there, but it could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, if we want people to be in these positions, qualified people to be in these positions, we got to treat them like it. And, I'm thinking about all the strikes that we've had in the last handful of years here in Chicago, let alone a lot of the issues that are happening around the country. I think a lot of teachers don't feel appreciated or like this is the job that they should go into right now. So if you can get out, I think I can understand why a lot of people will want to get out.
Well, also too, a lot of the schools that have the e-learning, they need extra teachers because if you've got a hybrid model and you've got some students in class, but then you have some students that want to stay home, that's two separate teachers that have to teach that one class. So it's taking up more teaching time from different people. So if you've got a school with a low number of teachers, you're kind of hosed.
It's like it's already a
absolutely.
tough job, a tough situation, and now you got coronavirus on top of it. That doesn't help.
For sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Felicia. Okay, this story, I was saving it, saved the best for last. Okay, it's a little bit of bad news mixed with good. Out of 50 cities, Chicago takes the #1 spot, and that's thanks to our rats. That's according to an Oregon study. We're the rattiest city for the 6th consecutive time. I mean, what's going on here, right? But hold on, we have a solution. Cats at Work, it's a program. It's hosted by the Treehouse Humane Society, and it places community cats in residential or commercial areas for rodent control. Now, the owners of the property are responsible for the well-being of the cats, which ends up being part of like the pet in the house anyway. But hey, this is a good step forward.
Yeah.
No.
You guys are calling out. Like, whatever.
I was just going to say.
There's food in the alleys. There's rats. And I don't actually even think it was that bad. I lived in the city for a long time. Okay, but at least
we are ratty. We are
ratty.
ratty.
I just want to say it's the circle of life, and it's so wonderful.
Yeah.
You guys loved this story. You loved this story in the meeting, and now it's like whatever.
Well, I wanted to sing that
I guess
song.
we'll put a period. We'll put a period on the end of that sentence. Thanks, Deanna.
We'll be right back.
Alrighty, fam, here's my top 3 trending stories of the moment, and your top 3 favorite witches are back, or mine are at least. Bette Midler, who played Winifred Sanderson in Hocus Pocus. Retry that. Bette Midler, who played Winifred Sanderson in Hocus Pocus. The witches are doing something to me, guys. I don't know what's going on. She posted this photo to Instagram, and it's giving us the first look at their highly anticipated reunion. So she took to the gram. She wrote, "The search of the Sanderson sisters is the best thing to happen to Halloween since Hocus Pocus and Reese's Pieces." I would have to agree, Bet. So this reunion goes down on October 30th, just in time for Halloween. And speaking of Reese's, Reese's is sending out trick-or-treat doors full of free candy so you can get your Halloween candy fix right in your neighborhood. So this is a robotic door. It's hands-free, socially distant. And if you want the door to come to you, you just have to comment on their Instagram post with the hashtag Reese's Door and tell them where to go next. Don't worry, I already commented from the Jam TV show and said Chicago, so just go like my comment and hopefully they'll be here soon. Now, continuing this Halloween train, Halloween star Kimberly J. Brown, she brought back her OG witch fit to TikTok and she tried it on. Does it fit? Ooh, it does. She said she wanted to try it on just to see if it still fits. And yeah, we love to see it. Definitely some fun nostalgia for Halloween Town fans, myself included. It's definitely a childhood favorite for me. And I've got some bonus nostalgia for you right now. Okay, so remember when eating cereal was the best thing to happen to your weekend and also watching cartoons all at the same time? Well, now you can have some extra fun while you do it. So on millions of boxes of Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles, you'll find a fun, interactive Flintstones spot the difference game on the backs of these boxes. So you can catch Flintstones weeknights and Sunday mornings on MeTV, and you can turn that cereal box over and play spot the difference. I don't know about you guys, but I get so competitive with this game and just any game like this on the back of a cereal box. Do you guys feel the same, or is it just me?
Oh, no. We always, love that. I was actually trying to do it while you had the picture up to see if I could spot the difference.
Get it back up here.
I can win. I can win.
Earlier this half hour, we had the chance to hear Felicia Lawrence sing Bear Down Chicago Bears. And she told us in the chat that she wants to sing the Flintstones song. So go ahead and take it away, Felicia.
No, stop doing that. Go Bears, go.
Meet the
Go
Flintstones.
Bears, go. I'm skipping that.
They're a modern
I
day family.
From the down a bedrock. They're a patriotic history.
I can hum it. I got no words for you, though. I can hum, though.
I feel like I need to be Pebbles for Halloween now. I'm feeling inspired.
Yeah, do it.
You could be Bam Bam.
I can pull it off.
Pebbles. Oh, you could totally do it.
Yeah.
I'll be the fat, short one. You know what time it is? Deep dish time. Who?
Deep dish time. All right, guys. The most Googled phobia of the year. It's the fear of other people. And I think I'll try to say this correctly. Anthropophobia. 22% of all fears searched nationwide, 5 times greater than it ever had been before. So popular also fears that were searched by states. In Illinois, the most searched for fear was fear of intimacy.
Oh. Oh, okay.
That's different.
Right? Why? No, I'm kidding.
I don't fear that at all.
So what are y'all afraid of?
Oh,
Alicia?
here we go. I left that door right open for Brandon. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
Alicia, what are you afraid of?
Yeah. Oh, what am I afraid of? Okay. Right now, I am afraid of regretting this time. Like, I'm so blessed right now. I want to be able to make sure I use this time as best as I can to work on some of my ambitions, my inner self, yada, yada, yada. So I don't want to get out of
this
moment
time of
and
the
look
show. I thought you meant like
No,
6:54
this
this Monday
time-
evening.
No, this time in my life. I don't want to get out of quarantine and life moves on and I look back and wish I had done this, and that with my time.
Huh. Gosh, you are so deep. I'm scared of like unmuting and muting my mic.
I know. I should have gone last.
That's what I'm scared of. Like I always forget to unmute. I always forget to mute. I always forget when my camera's on, when it's off. It's just a whole mess. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think my biggest fear is probably, I really don't fear anything, but if I were to fear something, it's that my PlayStation 4 is not going to work, and then I got to buy the PS5 hastily. That's my biggest fear right now. 'Cause, you know, when the new model comes out, the old model starts to act up a little bit.
Sure.
My PS4 has been acting up a little bit. So that's my fear.
Yeah, okay. Krista.
Yeah, okay.
This has always been my fear, and I forgot about this fear until I watched an extremely scary movie the other day. But I'm still afraid of the dark. Yeah, I'm in my upper 20s and I'm afraid of the dark, okay? If I watch a scary movie and then I have to like go to the bathroom or go elsewhere in the home and it's dark, I'm like, lights need to be on, someone needs to be next to me, I need humans around me. It's just, I can't do it. It needs
You literally look like you're broadcasting from a cave with a couch with no lights on, and you're afraid of the dark.
Of the dark.
All of my
Girl,
lights
you're
are
in the
on
dark.
in here. I wish I could show you my ceiling. All my lights are on. It's bright in here.
I'm afraid of being in a Zoom call with Jeffrey Toobin.
There we go.
Google that story. Google that story if you don't know what we're talking about.
There's no time.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Don't do it.